start all over again somehow. It's a crazy idea, I know, but it's only by doing so will we be able to elevate ourselves towards a better part of humanity moving forward.
I agree. We need to start over.
Yes, we need to start over, and to start over is to break the mold, break the old way of thinking, break the old way of interaction,
Yes, we
break
do.
the old ways. Okay, it doesn't have to be dramatic. We'll just do what needs to be done or whatever we see fit,
Now,
because there are
yes,
certain parts of humanity, there are certain ways that it's hard to break at this moment,
right.
and I know.
Especially financial controls, physical
That's
controls.
right. It's an old it's an old hard habit to break, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of things, it's just like I always have this intriguing thoughts, okay?
Huh?
And in various different universities and colleges, they always have an academic departments or something called political science,
Exactly.
right? And I don't know whether it was my own personal perception or it could have been true,
Mm-hmm.
but during the past 30 years or so, a lot of those so-called professors or subjects within the political science field are just talking and pretty much merely talking and analyzing scenarios, incidents, cases in the past,
Uh-huh.
not so much as trying to find out what's or try to chart a new territory out of based on what we learned.
So they're not trying to connect with reality. They're trying to be
That's right.
non-political.
That's right. They're just basically regurgitating stuff. That's the way I see it. Not so much as, being, like philosophical or trying to think of a newer, better ways of doing so, because the majority of the subjects of discussions or
Yes.
research within those political science departments, uh, they're basically revolving around incidents that happened in the past and try to come to some kind of conclusions and then write some papers and things like that.
Yes.
It's all in the past, nothing in the future.
Now, one of the reasons for that might be the situation at Kent State, New York,
That's right. Right.
in the 1970s, where students who were listening to their professors who
Right.
told them that there was no war in
Right.
Vietnam, that the United
That's
States
right.
had not declared war, that it
Right.
was simply a, I don't know, a police action
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
or
Uh-huh.
something, and that
Yeah.
that actually there was no legitimate reason
That's
to
right.
conscript at pain of imprisonment
Yes.
U.S. citizens to go and fight and kill other people on pain of execution, because
That's right.
if you show cowardice in face of the enemy, your commanding officer can pull out his firearm and shoot you
Correct.
dead.
Yeah.
But how can that be possible if there's no declaration of war between the United States and Vietnam?
Right.
And that's why these people, for an intellectual, extremely good reason, protested
That's right.
against the Vietnam War at Kent State. And then the National Guard of that state, New York, came out on
Sorry, you're breaking up on me.
that National Guard of that state, New York, came out
Yes.
and unleashed their weapons
That's
against
right.
those student protesters and shot, I believe it was 3 of them dead.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Now that's direct violence against people who protest. So,
That's right.
what are we talking about here? Are we talking about people who rise up and don't get anywhere? No, they never get anywhere.
Hmm.
Spartacus, the leader of the slaves in the Roman
That's right.
Empire,
Yeah.
had a pretty good shot at success. I mean,
Yeah.
after all, the slaves were actually in the majority.
That's right.
Did you know that there were more slaves than citizens in the Roman Empire?
Yes.
So how come the majority couldn't vanquish the minority? How come Spartacus's slave army couldn't just, restore liberty and freedom for the people who are being oppressed. Why is that? And here's another example. In World War One, the
Yes.
French army, large numbers of them, refused to fight.
Hmm.
In 1915, 1916, they were sent over the top to die in hails of German machine gun bullets. But
Right.
after a few weeks or months of that, they figured this is murder against
That's right.
us. And so they rose up and they just mutinied and refused and shot several of their commanding officers and decided that we're not going to do this anymore. And in fact, they even made an ultimatum that we're not going to attack. We're only going to defend France.
Right.
But that didn't work, did it? They still got subjugated and coerced into continuing with the war. And this goes on and on. And now the Vietnam protests were unsuccessful ultimately.
Hmm.
Okay? And the truckers' protest in Ottawa was unsuccessful ultimately.
Hmm.
So, you talk about the raising of consciousness and so on, but it's always been stopped. In other words, we don't have fairness and equality. We don't have free will. And those people who say, oh, the dark is in a minority and we're in a majority, and all we have to do is stand up and fight for our rights and we will somehow gain liberty. Those people are liars. Those
Yeah.
people are just giving us false hope.
Yep.
Because we're up against power above anything we can conceive. We're up against
Yes.
a technology that may be from off-world, that may
Yeah.
be from another civilization that's a cosmic location,
Yep.
and that therefore you have nothing to stand up with. Your
Yes.
shields and your swords are useless. And it's
Hmm.
all about might is right. For example, one man with a nuclear bomb and a button to detonate it is more powerful than an entire city of 55 or 25 million people.
Yep.
So what's this argument about? Oh, we're the majority and the minority, and the minority is the cabal and our overseers, and we can somehow, just walk over and exert our free will and vanquish them. No, that's not true. That's never has been true. It wasn't true for the Jews in the concentration camp, which outnumbered their guards by thousands to one.
Hmm.
Okay, that's all a lie.
Hmm.
People who are prisoners not because they're a majority subjugated by a prison minority guards, number. They're subjugated because of force, power against them, which is overwhelming and which they cannot resist.
Right. Right. So true. So true.
So, how can we be redeemed? How can we be liberated on this planet if we're being subjugated by powers which are beyond our collective power? A whole bunch of peasants with pitchforks is not going to do a damn thing against some guy with a nuclear bomb. What can we do? Well, obviously, we're going to have ask for help from somebody or something or some entity or some civilization which has something
Yes.
more powerful than the nuclear bomb, which is used to keep us in prison. Is that logical?
Hmm. Hmm.
In other words, we're going to have to ask for
Oh,
help.
yeah. Logical. Yes.
We're going to have to ask for help from a savior.
Yes.
And another thing that really bothers me is when I keep hearing this bullshit in the white hat movement is, don't wait for a savior. A savior is not going to help you. You have to rise up and fight for your rights
Well,
yourself.
okay.
Well, Case, tell that to the inmates at Auschwitz. Yeah,
That
don't wait for a
part-
savior.
That part has something to do with the following, based on my understanding so
Yes.
far. So if you're willing to listen to my silly point of views, okay, so here it goes.
You're not silly.
First, the white hat movements, okay, there has been a lot of infiltrated disinformants,
Yes.
control oppositions, and things like that.
Mhm.
It's just like there's the patriot movement that constantly like all these times since number 45 came down
Yes.
and stepped out of the White House,
Uh-huh.
the patriot movements has never stopped since then, right?
Yes.
But it begs, as time goes by, it begs me to believe, like, makes me wonder what's going on, because other than keep on seeing him showing up at rallies after rallies,
Yes.
endorsing this, endorsing that,
And getting lots of money. And getting lots of money.
That's right. I don't see any actual movements or anything really going on other than that, right? And secondly, there's a lot of disinformants out there spreading, half truths and mostly lies to distract people into believing and to follow their so-called saviors or leaders.
Yes.
Which is kind of like an idol, a false hope.
Yes.
Okay, a false hope. And instead of being part of the patriot movements and things like that, I have wandered off of that expectations long time ago.
Yes.
Because, like, why so long? Why nothing is happening? I mean, it's coming close to midterm elections. It's like 2 years already. So what the hell's going on, right? But that's not the point. The point is, you don't look for a human savior at this moment. Okay. You don't look towards that, because what if there's really no such character to lead the game, and secondly,
and there cannot be.
What if that person is only make believe, because
exactly? What if
that person is not for real, or it never shows up? It's only a mirage.
What if it's a body double?
You get lied for all these time.
Yes. What if you've been lied to? It's just a body double. It's just a chimera. It's just a fake.
That's right.
Somebody who got elected because they told you lies and you voted for them, but their allegiance is to an outside power or another organization.
Precisely. Yes, you speak my mind, kind sir.
Yeah. So you're stuck. You're stuck in a situation where you're like a prisoner at Michelwald. And you're and you spend all your days making V2 rockets.
That's right.
And you spend all your nights sleeping in the dank caves of the Mittelwerk. And then, you know what? You get to come out and you get to look at your prison guards who are standing up there with MP-43 automatic machine guns, and that's their technology. And what have you got? What do you got? To combat them, you got nothing. And to say that we should rise up against our oppressors when we got nothing and they got everything is absolutely asinine, absolutely insane. And what we have to do is we have to have a force that's equal to theirs.
Correct.
At least, if not more. If not more than.
And also, we must do multiple things. Not only do we have to reach out to a real savior, asking for help, but we also have to show or contribute to our actions by means of starting from the grassroots community.
Oh, that's fine if we have a fighting chance. But if you don't have a fighting chance, you're still behind bars.
Correct.
And you should be behind bars, because otherwise you'll die. And who wants to give up their life fruitlessly, needlessly?
Right. You see, all these things, more or less from the inspiration I got after repeatedly watching the Le Papillon movies.
Excellent movie that actually symbolically touches on the points that we are talking about tonight.
Precisely, yeah. Yeah.
What do you do?
Dustin Hoffman was the one who stopped Steve McQueen from jumping off the cliff.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you do when you're in a situation where they have all the power and you have none?
That's right.
I mean, do you still fight? Do you still fight back? And how do you fight back? Do you have to use your mind? You can't use might. You can't use power, because they have all the power and you don't have any. So you have to use your cunning. You have to use your intellect. You have to use your smarts and is that really the way that you have to achieve liberation? Well, that's not the way it worked in history. Sorry.
Correct.
That's not the way it worked with Spartacus. That's not the way it worked with Napoleon, who was trying to overthrow the cabal monarchies of Europe.
Correct.
Right? That's not how it worked with the Viet Cong, who tried to achieve liberation for their country, which originally was being controlled by the French and then was being controlled by the Americans. All they were asking for was independence.
That's right.
You know, but do we need that kind of suffering? Do we need that kind of war? Do we need that kind of death? No, we don't need that anymore. And anyone who says, just stand up and fight for your rights against that kind of control mechanism, against that kind of power, it makes me disgusted, because you know what it's really doing? It's making us feel as if it's our fault. It's your fault for not fighting. It's your fault for not standing up. It's your fault for not awakening and blah, 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 blah. No, 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 no. It's not the prisoner's fault that they're unable to break through the electrified fence and dodge the MP-43 automatic machine gun fire. It's not their goddamn fault, okay?
That's right. Yep.
Stop.